Hello and good afternoon. I'm Teresa Conway-Hayes in Meridian, Idaho, and you can find me at stampinbookkeeper.com. And today we're going to look at the Quite Curvy dies right here, Quite Curvy. We're going to be using this die and this die, but first we're going to make a rainbow. So we're going to make the rainbow with the Stampin' Up! Blending brushes. I only have 3 of them right now, so I am going to use some other blending brushes, but I'm going to start off with these. And I have picked Crumb Cake, Coastal Cabana, Balmy Blue, Daffodil Delight, and Flirty Flamingo for my rainbow. Now, I don't know if I've ever seen brown in a rainbow before, but that's okay. This is my rainbow. And that's what is a delight about card making, is you make the cards your own. So before we get started with the first color, I want to remind you that the host code for this month is right here, PRHEZNYE, and that it is past the time for sending hearts, so that particular kit did what I want to say expire. The offer for that did expire on January 10th. The mini catalog is now available for customers to order from. That started on January 5th, and then when you order from that mini catalog, now that celebration event is open and you can order from that. I actually have all of the products listed there and I am loving them. And then as a result of the mini catalog coming out, it's not necessarily in the mini catalog, but the mini embossing machine came available at the same time that the new mini catalog became live, and that was on January 5th. So you can now order the mini embossing machine, which I have done that, and I love it. I think it's really neat. It's going to be very handy for my trailer, and I'm tickled to have it. Okay, so we're going to start with brown. And so I ink the brush up, start off from the side to try and avoid any heavy areas like this. Now that's pretty heavy. If you don't like that, you've got one more chance to alter that. And you could start off with a lighter touch and then rub or blend a little bit harder. Use a little bit more pressure when you're blending. So now we're going to use Coastal Cabana. And I think my Coastal Cabana is getting a little dry. And next we're going to go with Balmy Blue. It could use some re-inking as well. One of the reasons I can tell is because if I go like this, yeah, there's a little bit, but not a lot. So these 2 colors weren't a good choice in regards to they needed re-inking. And now I'm going to go with my yellow. This one is in good shape. And we're going to top it off with Flirty Flamingo. And one of the things that I'm noticing here is that it wasn't a good choice to put the Coastal Cabana right by the Balmy Blue. So if I would have chose a more intense green for this, that would have been a better choice, in my opinion. All right, so then once I got my piece all colored, then what I realized is that I should have cut it down, because this is a 4 by 5 1/4, and this is what I would normally put on a card base that is 5 1/2 by what is this? So this is 4 by 5 1/4. This is 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. So anyways, because I want to put some space in between my layers, I should have cut this down a little bit. And then what I did was I chose these Curvy dies because I like the extra that goes with it, like the little punched out circles or the little punched out scallop look. And this is what, and then the other thing I did was I ran the colored piece through the subtle embossing folder before I cut it. And that gave it a little bit more dimension and was a little bit more fun. So because I didn't cut that first piece down, I just ran the die over again and made these pieces a little bit short, which wasn't the best way to do this, but I left it like this because I wanted to show you that you can, you know, I didn't want to waste this. You can make something good of, in this case, it wasn't necessarily goof, it was just lack of decision. So I am actually going to close these ink pads because they've been opened and I don't want them to dry out any more than they already are. And I don't know what the dry out rate or time is for these, so I'm just going to close them. I try to take really good care of my Stampin' Up product. Some of these are in need of a little bath. I like to keep them real clean with some wipes and wipe them down. Okay, so now I'm going to take my card base. I'm going to put these layers directly onto my card base. I'm going to take some Tombow glue. And my first piece was pink. Oops, I got a little something there. I must have ink on my fingers. Imagine that, inky fingers. So that's why I have wet wipes laying on my desk. And I will be able to fix that little goof. Okay, so I'm going to put some glue on here. And I did let a lot of the dots come out of this, but I wasn't real careful. I see a couple dots are still there. That's okay. So this is my next piece. Now the other part of this demonstration was to talk about how to use up your scraps. Now these aren't scraps. In fact, I looked in my scrap box and I really don't accumulate a lot of solid color scraps. Most of my scraps are DSP. Tombow glue is good for that wiggle room, so that if you don't get it placed down exactly where you want it, you can wiggle it around a little bit until you get it where you want it. All right, so let's see what's going to be my next piece. I know this is the bottom. And yeah, that would go next. Now I wanted to say about this Curvy die that has the scalping to it, like, that's what I'm calling it, that it can be a bear to get those little pieces to come out. That's this die right here. So I run this through like 4 or 5 times. I'm using the, the older Stampin' Up! Big Shot machine. So if you have the newer machine, it may not take as many times. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this one down so that I can know where to place that 4th piece down. And I got quite a bit in between there, but all of this helps to develop, helps to evolve. I don't want to say develop because to me that implies planning ahead. So all of this helps the card to evolve as you're creating it. Not everything is necessarily planned, especially in my world. A lot. I love planning. I love organization. So now we're going to get to the scraps part of this. So my thought was to incorporate a little bit of the scrappy strip technique. So just moving some stuff around here. Let's think, what scraps would have blue and Coastal Cabana in them? Pastel colors. Would have fun pastel colors. Well, this wouldn't necessarily have fun pastel colors, and this is Christmas DSP, but there were some sheets in here that would easily incorporate with spring type flowers, a spring look, especially that. Not quite doing it for me. This is called Sand and Sea ESP, and it's got beautiful, beautiful pastel colors in it. So this is pretty new, so I don't really have any scraps for this, but maybe. I get a lot of scraps from cutting my paper down, pre-cutting it, so that ends up giving me some scraps. Looking for blue scrap. I want this pretty blue. So for the sake of time, actually I'm being stubborn looking still. Okay, for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and just cut this scrap down. I'm going to pretend like I had a scrap already. Okay, so now what I want to do. This card started off as like using a ruffle die, and then I thought, oh, it'll be fun to use the quite curvy where you've got the cutouts. So I'm kind of struggling with this a little bit, and I think what I'm going to do is I am going to cut some more. You know what? For the sake of time, I'm going to make my own cuts and not use a die. I'm not sure if this is going to work or not. Nope, it won't. I need something that I can form myself. Or I should have cut it all out at once. So now I'm thinking to use ribbon. So I need a pink ribbon. And the only pink I really have right now is the magenta. That might just work. Let's give it a try. I've never even done this before. So this card has evolved quite a bit. This kind of thing is quite a challenge for me with my trimmers, but that's what life is about overcoming obstacles. Overcoming life's obstacles. I have made a, oh, this came off. I have made a scrappy strip card with ribbon before. It's quite a bit different than this. Okay, there's one. Covered up some of my dots. Now we're going to do it again with a yellow ribbon. Let's see what we have for yellow. I think this ribbon is retired, but maybe not. Doesn't matter, we're going to use it. This ribbon is cool. It's just going to bring more character to the card. I'm using nice thick ribbon, which is good because the glue likes to seep through ribbon. Okay, and now I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do for that last bit. So it would be, this one frays quite a bit. You have to use TLC with it. It's really pretty ribbon, but you have to use some TLC. So it would be kind of fun if while you're watching this video, if you went into the catalog or catalogs, because some of this ribbon would be in the annual catalog and some of it would be in the new mini catalog, and see if you can tell me in the comments what the first, second, third, and fourth ribbon is called that I used to make this card. That would be kind of fun. Yeah, this ribbon, you really want to be careful with it because it will misbehave at a moment's notice. So if I were going to use this ribbon, it would be best to be able to bring it around the side and tape it or adhere it so that you don't have those fray marks unless you wanted that. Sometimes you want that kind of thing. Okay, so there's the ribbon. So now, before I started all this, I had intended to bring my scrap box up here and look for scraps, but it didn't quite work out that way. And so when I did look in here earlier, I noticed that I was just looking for some burlap ribbon. I noticed that I do have some vellum in here. So I'm going to take this piece of vellum here and possibly this one. Maybe I'll use one or the other. So here's a scrap. Oh yeah, I definitely want the pink instead of the peach. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to put the pink down like that. And I'm going to put it down with frozen shoulders. So I have to reach out with my left hand instead of my right to pick things up. So I am going to put my glue dots down, my dimensions down first. Yep, that'll work. I don't usually do this either, so this is kind of interesting. Kind of like what I do when I put embellishments on. But I don't want to take that paper off until I'm ready. now I'm going to take a piece of burlap ribbon from my retired ribbon. I have bags full of retired ribbon that if you're interested in that, I sell those for $5 a bag. Not this big bag. I break it down into the sandwich size baggies and just put a good assortment in there. This is the sandwich size baggie, but I put more ribbon in there than that. Could have sworn I had, this is burlap ribbon here, but it's got red going down it, and I wanted the plain burlap. Well, I am not finding what I want. And I'm committed, so. Oh. Here was a scrap on the floor. And I thought this ribbon was thicker than that. So I thought it was going to cover up these glue dots better. So that means I have to come up with a plan. I'll just do 2 strips. That's all there is to it. I'm going to try and hold this down with some Stampin' Seal. Everything that I'm doing is an experiment today. Put that piece down. And put that piece down. And now it needs a little something more. There's no one here to tell me what that something should be. So what I'm thinking is I will take some more scraps. Sometimes I have scraps just laying around on the table, and turn this into a Valentine card. That's what I'm going to do. I think I'll use that heart. I'm going to use a lot of Stampin' Seal. Now this one is going to go off to the side like that. So I'm going to put some of the big dimensionals. Let's see, are these big ones? No, these are small ones. You know, I think I'm going to sneak some little ones underneath here just to give it, I need to just give up on these that's stuck together. Okay, so I want one of the big ones. I need to go get my big dimensionals. Well, all I can find is black right now. That'll be okay. There we go. Okay, now what we're missing is a sentiment. So for that, we're going to take what I got handy here. I need something loving. Made with love just for you. How big is that? That's too big. I think I'm just going to do a for you. Okay, now I'm going to see what scraps I have over here. Looks like I put everything away, so we're going to go back to the scrap box. And we're going to get something from in here for a label. right here. I want this pink one. Whoops. Dropped it. No, I don't really want that one. Okay, this one will work. And we'll go ahead and use the crumb cake to stamp it on there. There we go. I didn't stamp that on the right side. Let's try that again. Now I'll just use some of these glue dots that I have here from a kit. Those on there. For those of you who have never seen how to put these glue dots, the other day I realized that not everyone knows how to take the glue dots off of here and put them on. I'm just using my nail, but you could also use your take your pick tool. And then you could use the other end, I think, to take them off. Got a little stain. Okay, so we're going to finish this off with some shiny bling to clean up any smears on this card. This card ended up getting smeared a couple times. So in my scraps here, I have some red rhinestones. keeping with the theme of using scraps, we need another smear so I can figure out where to put the third rhinestone. There we go. Now this card is finished. So we could take a white layer and put a white layer on the inside of there. As soon as I figure out where I put them, right there in front of me. I'm actually going to use a vanilla layer because that cardstock looks vanilla to me. But when I had my vanilla cut down, they didn't cut it down right. So I go to Office Depot and have my white and vanilla and black cut down. And this is cut down the right size. So I'm just going to take a little bit off because this is just going to be an insert. And I really don't need one for this card for the Rococo Rose. It's not too difficult to write on. But I do really love Rococo Rose paired with Berry Vanilla. I just think it's really pretty together. And when I go to use my glue, if it doesn't want to come out at first, I tap it like that in the middle of the piece that I'm going to glue. And that gets it started. Wasn't a lot of wiggle room. And so there's that card. Using scraps to put together a fun card. This glue seeped through a bit here. But if that kind of thing bothers you, that's just more opportunity to use embellishments or something like that to hide it. You could cut out some little hearts and put hearts all along there. There's lots of things you could do. But I kind of like the hobo look of this card. And you don't know until you try and you experiment what the different techniques and styles and things like that are that you'll like. So now it's time for this Stampin' Bookkeeper to get back to bookkeeping, but I wanted to take a little break to do a card with you, and I will see you again next time. Goodbye.